Back on Course Record, Michael Breed, joined now by Alan Shipnuck, who is a partner at the Fire Pit Collection, also the author of the book, Phil, which is what this is all about, Alan. So let's just get right into this. You commence writing this book, and Phil is pretty open with you in some of the things that he shared, and I can only imagine that some of the things that he shared with you I know they caught me off guard in reading what I've read, but I can only imagine they caught you off guard as well.
Yes and no. I mean, Phil is a very crafty character, and he loves to work both sides of the street on a lot of different issues. And, that's clearly what he's doing here, sort of playing the Saudis against the PGA Tour for his own benefit, but also for that of the other players, and arguably for the product of professional golf. So I guess the surprising thing is he said the quiet parts out loud. Everyone kind of knew this was what Phil was up to. He likes to stir the pot and make mischief, but he just came out and was quite upfront and honest and blunt with me, which was refreshing. And I guess in the world we live in, that kind of candor is somewhat rare. So that's why people have had such a strong reaction to it.
There were a number of things that sort of caught me off guard, but I'll ask you, as the author of the book, and certainly as you're putting this together, was there one thing above all that caught you off guard in what he said or said to you?
In the context of the Saudis?
Yeah.
I think the fact, and his quotes were so colorful / inflammatory, that's what people have really grabbed onto. But that's the fact that Phil and actually wrote the operating agreement with, his lawyers did. Like that's a huge part of this. They actually constructed the league.
When I read this, that line that he said at the very end where he almost hoped that it wasn't successful, and yet he's pulled in 3 other individuals that appear to have helped with this, who play the tour, names not released, obviously, but that kind of caught me as sort of, here, we're trying to push the PGA Tour, but at the same time, I kind of hope it's not successful. Did that catch you as strange?
Sort of, but I think all these players have mixed feelings about it. Like, they're seduced by the money. They are unsure about the change it would bring into their professional lives. There's some regret about leaving their favorite tour stops, possibly giving up the Ryder Cup captaincies and things like that. So I think there's a lot of ambivalence for everyone involved, and Phil just captured it. But it's like when you're trying to decide if you're going to break up with your girlfriend and you're flirting with another one at a bar, and like that's kind of what's going on here. And at some point they're all going to have to commit, including Phil. And I'd be surprised if any players read that who are being courted by the Saudis and were completely shocked. I think they know what's going on here. I think there's been many quiet conversations, and I think they're enjoying the benefit. I mean, just Phil's flirtation with the Saudis has poured $100 million into the PGA Tour for the players through the raise in the PIP and the purses and spurious bonus programs. Now they've created this NFT platform that's going to enrich all the players in different ways. And Phil doesn't get all the credit, but he's been the driving force. And so the players can already see that this gambit has worked. It's gotten the attention of Jay Monahan and all his lieutenants. And they're like, okay, we need to pour more money back into the Players Championship purse. Now going to be $20 million. That's a magic number, because that's what they're talking about, is the purses for the Saudi Golf League. So the players aren't dumb. They know what's going on here. Like, it's the first time they've ever had leverage, and they're using it to their maximum benefit. Phil's just been, with me, he was just honest about it, where everyone else is draping it and growing the game and all this other nonsense that we know is just code word for putting money in your pocket. And so I give Phil some credit for just being honest about it when everyone else is using double speak.
Do you think that Phil is doing irreparable harm to his brand, or do you think that his brand is pretty safe and it's not going to be it won't be that tarnished?
Well, we'll see how it plays out, right? Like, this has given him an opening to say, you know what, my heart's with the PGA Tour and the fans of the tour and the volunteers and the charities, and that's where I want to focus my efforts. And I'm going to walk away from $200 million because I care about the PGA Tour. And there'll be a little bit of an eye roll, but he still has opportunity. If he does jump to Saudi Arabia, that I think there's going to be some curdled feelings towards Phil. There's going to be a backlash. there's already been a backlash. You can follow on social media for the last 24 hours since this book excerpt dropped, and so he's going to have a tough decision. It was already tough, and I think this has turned up the temperature. But Phil's brand has always been as a maverick and an iconoclast, and in some ways this only burnishes it. I mean, he sacrificed Tom Watson on the altar for the greater good of the Ryder Cup, and now after 2 decades of futility, the U.S. has won 2 out of 3 and is probably going to dominate the next decade. And that was Phil putting his neck on the chopping block, and it worked. And I think every American Ryder Cup fan would be thankful. So he's been down this road before. He's jousting with the USGA. There's Phil's a guy who rarely opens his mouth without an agenda, and so this is just playing out and again. So if folks have been following his career, I think this is not a shock. What the complicating factor is that the Saudi money is so dirty, and so much of that regime is objectionable, and they supplied 15 of the 19 9/11 hijackers. And so if this money was coming from Europe, I think that people would not have such a strong reaction to it. But the fact that it's Saudi money gives a lot of golf fans a not so fresh feeling, and that's part of this backlash. But at the same time, we're having an Olympic Games in China where they have actual concentration camps, and they're bad actors on the world stage. I mean, the cars we drive probably all have Saudi oil. None of us are completely clean in this, and where you draw the line. I mean, the European Tour has been playing all over the Middle East and China and other places for a very long time, and we've sort of shrugged and accepted it. So Saudi Arabia is more inflammatory because of their politics, because of their role in 9/11, because of their very public executions of their own citizens. I mean, it's a place that I think leaves most people feeling unsettled. But the reality is sports has been in bed with dictators and oppressive regimes for a long time. So I think Phil was kind of counting on the fact that everybody would shrug, just like they're having the World Cup in Qatar and all these other things. But something about this, the amount of money, the perception of greed, the harm it could do to a beloved institution like the PGA Tour. I say that with a little bit of a smirk, but it just feels a little different. And I think he underestimated the depth of those feelings.
And also, it certainly seems like he may have underestimated the depth of the players' feelings towards the PGA Tour, because it seems like there's a large number of players, particularly of late, John Rahm, JT, others who have come out and said, you know what, I'm to the PGA Tour. That's my team. Even Pat Perez came out last week and said, hey, you know what? I don't talk to Phil. I don't know what Phil's doing or what he's talking about, but he's kind of, he didn't say he's going off the deep end, but he certainly said we don't communicate anymore, and kind of almost takes Phil and puts him out on the island, which it kind of feels like the players on the PGA Tour seem to push him out on the Rory McIlroy was pretty boisterous in his support of the PGA Tour as well.
Well, there's quite a generational divide, because most of those players you just cited are on the pretty young and have a lot of golf in front of them. I mean, if I'm Colin Morikawa or I'm Justin Thomas, I can make hundreds of millions of dollars playing well on the PGA Tour, and that's probably enough to have a very nice lifestyle, and you get to go to your favorite courses, and you get to enjoy the comfort and the stability of what you've always done as a professional golfer. The people who are attached to the Saudis, it's Phil, it's Lee Westwood, maybe Adam Scott. These guys are on the back nine of their career, maybe the final few holes, and so this is the last chance for a huge payday, and so you can kind of maybe understand why it's so attracted to them. So, I mean, you look at the money that's pouring into the tour. All you have to do is play well and win tournaments, and you're going to be wealthier than in your wildest dreams. And I think guys like John Rahm have figured that out. I mean, he wants for nothing, and you would think it'd be the same thing with Phil and these others, but I guess they feel like this is the last chance to snatch that brass ring. And Phil may be in a different situation. I mean, I detail in the book sort of the massive scale of his gambling debts, which everyone knows that he's always enjoyed gambling. That's not a secret, but I have some numbers in the book that are going to be eye-popping, and this may be more born of necessity than we could imagine, given won $94 million on the PGA Tour in official earnings. He's had had all these other endorsements and everything, but maybe he's feeling more financial pressure than you would think, and he's scrambling. We don't know exactly, but there does seem like there's an air of desperation about it. And for these other players, and who are making $15 to $20 million a year playing in the U.S., playing their favorite courses like Riviera and Pebble Beach, and there's not the same incentive to blow up their professional lives, deal with the backlash, be compelled to take at least 4 trips to play these Saudi Golf League international venues. And these guys love to say they're private contractors, and when you sign on the dotted line with the Saudi Golf League, you're compelled to play in every tournament. And it doesn't matter if it's your kid's birthday or they're graduating from high school or whatever it is, you got to go. That's just part of the deal. Obviously, if you're playing the PGA Tour, there's none of that pressure. So, Adam Scott used the word lifestyle. It's appealing from a lifestyle standpoint, talking about the Saudis, because it's only going to be 13 or 14 events. But he can play 13 or 14 events on the PGA Tour. Doesn't get the guaranteed money. But so I think, every player's in a different place in their career and their financial lives and what really matters to them. I think a guy like Rory McIlroy has a conscience and a sense of social responsibility that might be missing in some other players. So it's a very idiosyncratic decision. It's part of what's made this whole thing fascinating, and we'll see how it plays out, because I was told by a very prominent PGA Tour agent, they were always going to announce when they signed 20 players, and that they've hit that number, and they think they're going to announce the week of the Players Championship, which would be a giant middle finger to the flagship event of the PGA Tour, which makes it kind of delicious. And that's it. Right now, it's still speculation, and everyone's trying to cut deals, and we don't know. But once they announce, the names go public, then it gets much more serious and much more interesting. So, the golf world has just been holding their breath this whole time, and now, from this book excerpt and other places, things are starting to leak out, become they're complicating the narratives, and it's a fascinating chapter in professional golf. And I'm a little closer to it than most, but I'm still curious to see how it's all going to play out, because there are plenty of unknowns.
Well, Alan, we appreciate the time. We look forward to reading the book, and all the best to you and your family. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Fascinating conversation with Alan Shipnuck. We appreciate his time. We appreciate you joining, and reminder, for more instruction, insights, and interviews, join us every Monday and Tuesday on Course Record on CBS Sports Network.